What's going on, guys? Welcome to Quick Hits, a Walking 90 exclusive where I bring you everything that's happened in the league within 15 minutes or less. And if I don't, charge your local supporters. I don't know what to tell you. But with all that being said, how excited are you to have USL League One soccer back? Drop it down in the comments down below. Before I get started, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Blue Sky, and especially on YouTube. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe at Walking 90 on across all platforms. Let's start off with this. Several expansion teams show that they belong immediately. Defensive organization is, or lack thereof, is decided in multiple matches. Possession stats don't always translate to chances, and early signs that the title race may already have a couple of serious contenders. And we'll dive into that right after our game breakdowns. But starting off, let's talk about the FC Naples game. 2-0 against Fort Wayne. FC Naples seemed to control attack movement, had a couple of goals, especially that nice chip goal there. Smart off-the-ball runs repeatedly pull FC Wayne defenders. And if you listen to the Fort Wayne Footy podcast, they mentioned how they were a little nervous about having those USL League 2 defenders going against League 1 opposition. I think they'll be fine, but, growing pains. Both goals came from defensive organization caused by positional daggering. And the key takeaways, really, FC Naples seems to be up there in the top echelon. They look tactically sharp early and comfortable controlling attacking phases of play after losing a great striker like Henderson. The player who stood out in this game was FC Naples' right midfielder, or attacking midfielder, as I like to call him, Christopher Garcia. He consistently found the space between Fort Wayne's defensive lines and targeted the movements that led to both goals. Now, we go up north. We go up to New York, Westchester. 2-3 loss to 1 Knox. In a chaotic, entertaining game, Westchester scored twice, but defensive structure lapses are still there for Westchester, and that's scary with a new head coach. 1 Knox, on the other hand, exploited those huge gaps and got great goals out of their new striker, Dennis. I'm not going to butcher his last name, but you know who I'm talking about. The key takeaway in this game is that Westchester can score, but defensive organization must improve immediately if they hope to not have a repeat of last year where they just had defensive lapses all across. The player who started this game, I already mentioned him. He scored 2 goals in his debut. He took advantage of every defensive mistake that was presented to him, even had an assist and a clinical finish when chances appeared. Now, Sarasota, a 1-0 loss to Boise, Atletico Boise. Both teams in their debut is not too bad. I know it sucks there for the home crowd, and make sure you go listen to the Paradise podcast. It's a good podcast. My man is out there, does a fantastic job. Make sure you go and support him. And also the Boise podcast as well. Very tight defensive game. Atletico Boise scored the decisive goal, and then they kind of controlled the tempo. We kind of expect this out of Nate Miller with the veteran squad he has there. It's not your average debut squad. This is a team with a lot of USL League One and championship experience in there. In Sarasota Paradise, with Mika down there, Chandler Dwyer, Ethan Bryant, and Jonathan Blanc, you might want to call him Richard Kickers 2.0, especially with the storm that delayed the game. Struggled to create clear chances and just look a little confused out there. Hopefully things will clear up down there and Sarasota can have their first home win very soon for those fans. The key takeaways from this game is this. Sarasota looked like a team that's still trying to find their rhythm. I already kind of mentioned that, but then Boise already looks organized, as efficient, and like I said, they're my pick to be the Shield winner. So, hey, don't say I told you so. The player who started in this game is Boise center back John Rickens. Now, he's a USL League One veteran playing for Chattanooga Rebels, I believe, but dominant in the air, right, and shut down Sarasota's attacking opportunities, right? Waiting very hard for McLaughlin, Bolaños, and them to have those clear-cut opportunities that they're so accustomed to. The late game of the night, which, USL League One after dark is even famous for, AV Alta 1, Richmond Kickers 1. Now, massive possession to AV Alta, 77-23 in both halves. Very stucky. Yeah, Richmond kind of parked that bus after getting off the plane. But Richmond absorbed massive amounts of pressure, but they stayed also disciplined. They did not give up a goal from an open play. Only a PK that, if you want to go to grassroots POV and look at it, you might have some thoughts on it. AV Alta's goal came from a penalty rather than open play, like I already mentioned, but Possession alone isn't enough. This is the team last year who led this league. Like I've mentioned before, they are very married to their system with the possession play, playing those horizontal passes, looking to get in behind you vertically. But they got to turn that dominance into chances. They created chances. They got to finish them. So many clear chances in front of goal, right to the keeper. Easy saves. Making it more difficult on the keeper and burying those chances. And guys are up there. Richmond Kickers defended well, but struggled to build out attack, especially in the first half. Now, you can attribute this to Darwin Espinal and Neil Sorford not being there, but still, you want to see a little bit more from this team going forward, especially how well they were scoring last year. Now, the positive to Richmond is that they played better defensively, look more coherent, but then that defensive coherentness gets switched out for the attacking potency that they had last year. We'll see with the games coming up they have. The player who stood out in this game was Richmond Kickers' Jan Flynn. He had multiple saves, right? 6 saves, huge saves. A major reason AB Alton did not convert that possession into goals. Now, some of the early trends that we're seeing so far, and this is actually only 1 week of matches. We have another week of matches coming up, and US Open Cup play coming as well. But expansion clubs look competitive. They don't look apart. And I know Sarasota and FC Wayne didn't get wins, but they look like they're up to it. And hopefully, moving forward, they can get those first wins on 100 fans. Defensive organizations all ready to sign in matches. Westchester looked a mess defensively, about being honest. Fort Wayne, got to tighten up the belt. They lost matches because of that. Could have easily had draws. Who knows? Richmond, with a tight defense, were able to earn a draw, get a draw, even though giving up the PK there, we're able to get a draw. So defensive solidity early on is going to be the reason why teams is different maybe between 10th and 11th and 17 and 18, which you don't want to be. Possession versus efficiency. AB Alton dominated the ball, but couldn't create those clear, open chances. Once again, where you see a team like FC Naples able to dominate and finish those chances. So those are 2 things that started out to this early. Now, my game of the week to watch. I have New York Cosmos versus Portland Hearts of Pine for a couple of reasons. New York defensive discipline versus Portland tactical movement. Portland has spent probably the most money in USL League One outside of Spokane. That's just my belief. But New York is a team that I'm hoping they're going to lean into that New York grittiness, even though they're in Jersey. That defensive solidness and that grittiness. So it'll be an interesting matchup. Also, a 2:00 kickoff. Woo! Early USL League 1 hours. This is a game that everyone's going to be watching, especially with the turn of New York Cosmos. A chance to see if Portland attack works against a more organized defense. How are these pieces going to gel? How are they going to come together in year 2 of that project? Cosmos needs to prove they can generate offense. Now, look, this is the New York Cosmos that has been through myriad of variations, stop starts. Hopefully, they can get started on the right foot, and the win in front of those fans would be huge. Now, my quick predictions is this for the week coming up ahead. Or whatever. I think New York Cosmos definitely gets a gritty. I can see a 2, maybe 1-1 draw here. My next prediction is this. Corpus Christi is going to show up against FC Naples. It's going to be an interesting game there. You have 2 very interesting coaches. We see the return of Iman. Does he bring out the sweater? There. Chattanooga versus Greenville. 2 of the USL League One old hearts. How is Chattanooga going to move on from year 2 with their scrappy defensive play? Greenville, a team that's relying on the old guard. How do they move forward? One Knox is playing Forward Madison. Forward Madison has overhauled their entire roster. I believe only bringing back 1 player from last year's roster. How is that team going to move on, especially for Madison, without having any home games to, I believe, late May? How are they going to adjust and be ready to go on the road? Westchester, how are they going to redeem themselves against Charlotte Independence in a game of which Charlotte, we know them. They love to attack. Westchester defense is a little lapsed. How are things going to look there? And then Sarasota versus Fort Wayne, another new club versus new club battle going there for Sarasota. Who gets their first win here? I'm not going to lie to you. I might be expecting a draw, but I think both teams will walk away with it with a little bit more happiness than they did last week. And finally, Sunday, we got Spokane Velocity versus UU Omaha, a game that almost every League One fan, I would tell you, needs to turn into to watch there. It's going to be an interesting game just because of the fact that you have probably two of the more dominant teams playing there with each other. And then we have U.S. Open Cup games. A couple of USA games to note. But I'll let my other co-hosts talk about this when they do their quick hits. But I'll just note them out for you. Richmond Kickers versus Nova FC. We also have Portland Hearts and Pine traveling to Vermont Green. Looking down the list, make sure I do not forget anyone. We have the Greenville Triumph versus Asheville City Soccer Club. Oh, One Knox, they play, I'm probably going to mess it up, Missoula Garfield. That's an interesting name. I like it. I'm not going to lie. UU Omaha travels to both St. Louis. AV Alta takes on Valley 559. And Spokane Velocity travels down to California to play Ventura County FC. So, as always, fans, let me know who's your Vibes and Chaos team of the week. Let me know down in the comments down below. I love to hear from you. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Because remember, without you, we couldn't do this show. We wouldn't want to do it. So, our monthly show will be coming back soon. We'll cover everything. We'll talk about everything that has happened so far. But with all that being said, I'm Elliot. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys soon. Peace.